Hey everybody, thank you so much for joining us here for this second AMA or community call. This is really an AMA of the year. I'm Derek Silva. I'm your operations lead at Reef, and joining me today is Cletus from VIA Labs. Cletus, thanks so much for making time for us today.
Yeah, it's an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
Great. I've got a coffee here. I will be drinking every once in a while. It's still only 10:34 a.m. here, but and I know it's afternoon, evening, late evening for a lot of other folks. So we'll try to keep this concise and not meander on too long, like I'm doing right now. So I think most of the people watching this already know a little bit about me. So this is not going to be about me today. It will be about Reef, but primarily it's going to be about VIA Labs and how we're working together. So Cletus, can you give us a little bit of your background, how you got into crypto, and eventually your involvement with VIA Labs?
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And just to start things off, thanks again for having me. For those of you guys who were celebrating Thanksgiving yesterday, I hope you had a great Thanksgiving if you're in the States. If you were not in the United States, maybe you had some turkey or gravy or whatever, and you know, had a nice meal yesterday. So yeah, I'm Cletus. I run the operations at VIA Labs. So I do everything from the day to day type stuff to uh, general development planning, sales, pursuits, partnerships, the whole nine yards there. So I do just about everything minus the straight up development work. So personally, myself, I'm not a Solidity developer, but I do work hand in hand with all of the development team and do all that development coordination planning and all that good jazz. We actually just had a meeting this morning at 9 a.m. So it's 10:35 my time. I'm also in the United States in the Eastern time zone, and we had some pretty good additional updates for Reef as well. So really excited to talk about that and to really kind of get into all of the things that we have coming for today. To answer your question though, my background specifically is in electrical engineering, so I do have that semi-technical background. Where I'm kind of that glue between the operations and the development at VIA Labs. So my personal background in crypto specifically though was from 2021. So I kind of got involved in the previous bull run, but I got sucked in when everything was topping out. My first coin that I ever bought happened to be Dogecoin on crypto.com. So it was kind of like a for getting in, oh, well, crypto.com, perfect. That must be the best platform to use because why not? Got some Dogecoin. Watched it run up to around 70 cents, which was great. And it capped out during the Elon Musk skit during SNL. Never sold. I actually bought more at that point and wrote it all the way down. But that was the initial part of me joining crypto specifically. But for VIA Labs, that's been going on for about 3 years or so now, pretty much since the inception back in 2021 where we noticed that there is a big problem in the space, and that problem is interoperability, where you have all these chains, Ethereum, Binance, Avalanche, pretty much any chain. And I can get into this more too, because this is just the introduction, but basically these chains, they can't talk to each other. And
Right.
that is the problem that we went out to solve is chain interoperability, chains being connected with each other, and people being able to seamlessly transfer value from chain to chain.
Yeah, for sure. That's obviously VIA Labs is not the only one working on that problem, but that's
Yeah,
been a longstanding problem for a long time. Cosmos has IBC to try and solve that. Obviously, Polkadot has their entire system and the whole concept of parachains to try and solve that. But I think that's only a recent thing that they introduced in order to actually make cross-chain messaging really, really easy. And of course, when you're going from a substrate based chain like Reef to an EVM, a pure EVM based chain, like Polygon, Avalanche, an L2 like base, whatever, that introduces other complications as well, even though we have an EVM running on top on Reef.
Yeah, and so one of the main things that we're seeing as a cross chain infrastructure provider, and the next really meta narrative in the space right now is that the entire space is going to start moving to an interoperable type environment where what you're seeing now is that the space used to be growing, we call it vertically. People were building only on Ethereum, people were building on Solana, and the chains were trying to solve the TPS issue, the transactions per second issue, to try to make it so that their bandwidth can scale and everyone can build on that solo singular chain. But that's not happening anymore. Where now these chains, like how you mentioned, Cosmos, sure, they have the IBC. Avalanche has their ICM. Polygon has their they call it their ag layer, and Arbitrum their orbit chains. Like all these chains, they're building these ecosystems around their main chain to help with that scaling issue. But even with that, you also have hundreds of chains that are launching every single day. And that's the space is now, instead of growing vertically, it's now growing horizontally. And that's why you need to have this interoperability to connect them all together so that chains can help onboard liquidity into their ecosystem, or bring on additional developers without being siloed and not being able to connect with the outside world.
Right. Yeah. So to that point, can you tell us a little bit about the products that VIA Labs has been building? You guys have a messaging product. You have your own hosted bridge. You've got this Proto CCTP product, which is coming to Reef as well. So you can give people an overview of those and anything else maybe we're not working on together, but you've got in the pipeline, because there are people asking about what's in the
Yeah,
pipeline for VIA Labs. That would be super helpful.
for sure, for sure. Yeah, our main product at VIA Labs, the main thing that we do is cross-chain messaging. And so for those of you who don't know, and for those who might not be pure technical that know what that means, is quite to put it simply, if you're launching a smart contract on a blockchain, so if you're trying to do something on one blockchain, you can't do that same thing natively on another blockchain. You need to have some sort of message that is sent from chain to chain in order to make that happen. And so that's specifically what we do at VIA Labs. Is we are a cross-chain infrastructure provider. So we are able to send messages using our decentralized VIA network. Messages can be sent from chain to chain to enable that smart contract to smart contract interaction. So on a developer level, what can happen is that someone can create a smart contract that says, hey, well, maybe I want to make a meme coin. Maybe I want to make a staking platform. Maybe I want to make something that does the cross chain of stable coins. Perfect. But if you're just doing it solo on one chain, okay, well, now I want to bring in additional users. Okay, like I want to be able to expand the offerings and bring in a general audience. Maybe there's a group on Kronos that they have a great ecosystem, or on Avalanche, and there's a game launching. How do we bring them all together? That's through that cross-chain messaging. And I see that you're sharing the site right now. Developers themselves specifically can go to the Build Now documentation, GitHub, to be able to go and check that out specifically for how to onboard with the Solidity packages, to be able to build any sort of cross-chain app, cross-chain tokens, cross-chain NFTs, whatever they want to do. So that's the main thing that we do at VIA Labs, is that just general cross-chain interoperability. But to get more specific as to some of the other core products that we're releasing, which is also pertains directly to Reef and your ecosystem, and the newest thing that we're launching here, and quite frankly the thing that everyone's really kind of excited about, is both the Reef bridge, which is great, and for us specifically, Proto CCTP, where Proto CCTP is coming to Reef as well.
Yeah.
Now, to give a background on that, Circle Internet Financial, the USDC stablecoin provider, they have a stablecoin called USDC, which I'm sure that everyone has heard about. And if you haven't, it's a stablecoin pegged to the US dollar, backed 1-to-1. Now they have something called CCTP, which enables them to be able to burn and mint USDC, like real native USDC, between chains. So if I'm going from Avalanche to Ethereum, I can burn USDC on Avalanche and mint it on Ethereum. Now, what VIA Labs is doing is we've extended that out, when we call it Proto CCTP, where it gives new and emerging blockchains the same capabilities of CCTP, except they don't have to wait for Circle to deploy on their network. They don't need to wait for a true native USDC implementation. They can use something called the bridge standard, which is, I know I'm getting a little bit technical, but they can use the bridge standard and basically create a stablecoin on their chain, back it 1-to-1 to USDC, and it works just like Circle's native CCTP. So it's all of the benefits immediately once it's deployed. And these chains, so Reef, can connect to all of the existing chains in the Proto CCTP network to be able to bring in liquidity directly into Reef, to be able to onboard true stablecoin liquidity.
Yeah, and just to add on to that, like we've had multiple discussions, not terribly recently, but we've had discussions with the people responsible at Circle for picking which chains to deploy natively on, and they've said, we want you to go ahead and deploy wrapped USDC first. And then once you've got these certain indicators fulfilled on our side, things like the number of USDC bridged over to Reef, the number of wallets holding USDC on Reef, the number of significant wallets, aka whales, holding USDC on Reef, then we'll come over officially. But in the meantime, you have our blessing, our green light to go ahead and bridge USDC over. We would love to see it, and hopefully the Reef ecosystem will get to a point where we will consider supporting it natively. And from what you've told me, Cletus, like you guys are doing this in such a way that it makes it really easy for Circle to come in and take over ownership of the contract, the token contract, and everything, like all the other infrastructure related to that, so that switching from wrapped USDC to native USDC will be much easier than it has been on, let's say, Polygon. And I'm not trying to throw shade at Polygon. I think Circle was really late to the party there, but you still have like 400 million USDC.E or USDC POS that were bridged over to Polygon and are still on that token contract, not on the native issued by Circle token contract.
Yeah, on Polygon specifically, they have a USDC.E, and they also have the native USDC on their chain. Their chain is kind of unique in that way, where it can get confusing to users because they do have that duplicate liquidity. I believe on their end, they are taking steps to mitigate that and to get rid of their USDC.E. But so many dApps are integrated with it, it kind of makes that hard for that ecosystem to be able to do that. For Reef, what we're doing with Proto CCTP, and anyone in the audience can go ahead and look this up on Circle's documentation. We're using the bridged USDC standard. So it's that same idea of the bridged USDC standard, duplicating it over to the Reef ecosystem, where the way that works is that in order for Circle to decide to upgrade for native USDC, as you were saying, Derek, that the chain needs to have the bridged USDC standard, which number one, that's good, and then needs to have that general adoption on their chain of the bridged USDC standard. And that's quite literally the only way to be able to get true native USDC onto a specific blockchain. But the cool thing with Proto CCTP is that it kind of skips that waiting step, where you don't really need to wait anymore for that true CCTP upgrade, because that's why everyone wants it anyways, because they want to be able to burn and mint USDC and bringing that liquidity from everywhere. Cool. Like who wouldn't want that as a blockchain? And the developers on a chain can benefit from it too, because now they can build cross-chain staking dApps. They can build any sort of dApp where maybe they're doing some sort of like leverage trading and they want to be able to have USDC as collateral. They would want to use CCTP for this.
Right.
But we can bring it on day one, which is what Proto CCTP does, because you can both send messages and data from chain to chain with this, and then onboard that USDC from any CCTP supported network. So if you're on Ethereum and you want to bring USDC from Ethereum into Reef, perfect, that's supported. But let's say that you're on Polygon and you have that native USDC, that will also work too. And to get a little bit more technical, the way that it works is it uses a multi-hopping feature, so that if Reef is, let's say, paired with USDC on base because of the low gas fees, or if you decide to pair with USDC just straight on Ethereum because you just want it to be USDC.E, it doesn't really matter, whatever you decide to pair with directly. If you're coming in from Avalanche, it will make that hop to whatever chain that you pair to, and then go directly to Reef from there. So it uses a multi-hop method to be able to reach any of these additional chains to onboard that USDC.
Yeah, I was just looking at Circle's bridged USDC standard introduction blog. I was hoping there would be some more graphics.
Yeah,
but unfortunately there aren't.
It's a lot of text.
Yeah, it's definitely a lot of text. So I'm not going to bother showing it up here. But if you go to vialabs.io, oh, sorry, go ahead.
To learn more about Proto CCTP, though, it is on our docs. So if you go to docs.vialabs.io and then go to that Proto CCTP, we do have graphics there. So that's I wanted to butt in as you were explaining that.
Maybe I'll bring that up. Yeah, I was just going to say that. Oh shoot, what was I going to say?
Sorry for derailing your train of thought.
That's okay. I'm just gonna bring up your docs and the Proto CCTP key features. Yeah, here we go. Were you talking about the key features doc specifically?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Then I will. Did I kill that scene? I gotta recreate that scene. One sec. So I get, for people who are asking what's the benefit, I guess the major benefit here is it's going to be really easy, or at least much easier, to bring wrapped versions of native USDC over. The benefit there is we can create stablecoin pools with Reef, with Hydra, with the Mr. Dapps token, with Soon token, with Punk, with any token on ReefSwap. That's one example. We could enable USDC purchases for NFTs on Squid, and that's just with stuff that Reef's built. Obviously, you can pay invoices, exchange value with your friends and family on Reef Chain using USDC. And anybody who's used Reef Chain up until now knows it's very inexpensive. Sending Reef costs 1.5 Reef, which is whatever the price of Reef is right now, plus 50%. So, it's probably like 0.002 cents or something like that right now. Even doing a swap, costs you like, I think it's 5.4 Reef, something like that. So we have an incredibly inexpensive chain to use, less expensive than many, if not most. Even a lot of the Ethereum L2s that are supposed to be super, super cheap, I still spend 20, 30, or 25 to 35 cents sometimes doing swaps. And, meanwhile, it still costs less than a penny even to do a swap on ReefSwap right now. So, bringing over native USDC, we've got some graphics here about going back and forth between Polygon and Arbitrum, because you can use the CCTP standard on both of those. Maybe you want to explain here a little bit what these graphics mean for folks.
Yeah, absolutely. So blockchain X, which is the one on the far right hand side of the graphic there, this shows a potential multi-hop scenario where if blockchain X happens to be paired with Arbitrum, so the way that the bridge standard works, or the way that Proto CCTP works in general, is that it blends together Circle's CCTP network. So that's the burning and minting of native USDC. It blends that with something called the bridged USDC standard. When, as we previously just discussed, the bridged USDC standard is that way that emerging blockchains can use to onboard USDC into their networks, but it must be paired one-to-one with one other blockchain. And the reason for that is so that you can have one-to-one accounting. So any USDC that's brought in, it's always going to be backed. Your bridge standard USDC, the wrapped USDC, is always going to be backed one-to-one with true native USDC on that CCTP-enabled blockchain. So that's what you're seeing right now in that first example that you're showing. So blockchain X could be Reef, and then if assuming that Reef is paired with Arbitrum, okay, great. But let's say that you have USDC on Polygon. Now, typically, you would need to go ahead and find a bridge to bridge it from Polygon to Arbitrum, and then once you're on Arbitrum, now use the Reef native bridge to bring it from Arbitrum to Reef. Okay, well, for a new
Right.
Web3 user, that's going to be tough to do. They're going to need to learn all these things. They got to go to a bridge, find it, trust it. Maybe it might take 30 minutes. Maybe it will take 30 seconds, depending on whatever one that they find. That whole experience is very tough, and I'm sure that all of your users in the audience right now, all you guys have remembered your first time bridging. Or Derek, to ask you, how was your first time trying to
Yeah.
send a cross-chain transaction? Like, was that, it was probably difficult, or did you have someone walk you through it?
I think the first time I did it, I was actually moving tokens from Ethereum
Yeah.
to Polygon. And so I was using Polygon's official bridge. And so by that point, I wouldn't call it difficult necessarily, but it was nerve-wracking because even if it's with gas fees, you don't want to move just $5 across because you might have been spending $5 or $10 to move that $5 worth of tokens, whether they were ETH or Matic or USDC or what have you. So I think it was probably like hundreds of dollars because that was the only thing that made it worth it. And when it takes, I typically use Jumper these days. So Jumper will give me a decent idea of how long it's going to
Yep.
take. But any bridging that takes more than like 10 or 15 minutes, yeah, it's a little nerve wracking, especially when you're moving like $4,000 or $5,000
Yeah.
between chains. Even if tables, you're like, oh my God, why is this not arrived yet? Like, and then you get the notification from your wallet. And oh my
It
God.
worked. Yes, I can make the trade. I can do the things.
Yeah, make it work. I didn't use
Yeah, oh yeah.
multi-chain,
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that was a fiasco back in the day, multi-chain.
Yeah, which is who we were partnered with, like, for a couple of years, and they were, like, this close to testnet
Mhm.
deployment a little over a year ago, and then,
Yeah.
like, it's that's where we were at, about a year ago, and people were like, "Well, where's the bridge?" And I'm like, "I don't know, the one dude's in jail, apparently. What am I
Yeah,
supposed
yeah,
to do?"
yeah. Watching that go down in real time
Yeah,
back then, I was like, "Oh my gosh!" Like that, a lot of ecosystems
yeah,
got negatively affected by that fiasco for
yeah,
sure.
highly unfortunate. Um, anyway, yeah, it's not a
Mhm.
comfortable experience. No, like and then you do run into situations you're like, do I have the right USDC? Why is it showing me I have zero value or like zero tokens? You're like, what the heck? Oh, it's USDC.E and I have official USDC on Polygon or what have you. Or there's no route between this token and that token. You're like, oh God, now I gotta which is why I usually end up using something like Jumper, which just
Mhm.
aggregates everything. And they've gotten to a point where they will also initiate a swap on 1inch or Sushi or 0x
Yes.
protocol or wherever and get me the tokens I actually want, which is great. But it's depending on which bridge you end up going through. It's click, wait 2 minutes, click again. Oh, and I need to approve this other thing. 20 minutes later, click again. Like, So yeah, it's annoying. So, the structure you guys have in place is really interesting, I would say, to have, to pair up with a single blockchain and just move things back and forth. And you're saying here like it's abstracted. So, I guess the old adage of what Apple says, it just works. So like that's great, because ultimately, if somebody can just, come in and say, well, I've got USDC on
Hmm.
Optimism, I want to move it to Reef. If you guys are abstracting, a lot of that complication away from me and everybody else in the background, yeah, that's great. And I guess, like, you're talking about things like taking a while, like for at least some of the chains you guys have integrated, like, is this faster? Is at least the status more clear, or like what are you
Yeah,
guys
yeah.
doing differently
So
here?
what Proto CCTP does, it uses for all of the native CCTP routes. So that be your Polygon to Arbitrum, that goes over Circle's CCTP. So that speed is dictated by Circle itself. So the CCTP time for that specifically is 13 minutes for any sort of uh, verification on the CCTP network. Besides for Avalanche, though, Avalanche is faster because they have good tech. Their time to finality is only 20 seconds. So, like, if you're going from
Right.
Avalanche to Arbitrum, that would take 20 seconds, and then Arbitrum to Reef, for example, that last step over the VIA network, that is, again, that's blockchain finality. So that would be about 20 seconds as well. So the time limiter
Okay.
there is using CCTP itself. But I do expect that to most likely speed up here, probably in Q1, as both VIA Labs has, and this is some unannounced stuff, but we might have some upgrades to that. Circle itself may have some upgrades as well that could be coming, but that I assume that speed we will see that increase or decrease. The speed decreases as we head
Yeah.
into Q1, and especially kind of eclipse Q1 to start Q2 of next year. I assume that's going to speed up significantly. Yeah.
Yeah. I think the speed will increase, the time
Thank
will
you. Yes.
decrease.
Yes. Yeah. The speed will increase. The
There.
time will decrease. Yes. Yeah. Don't
Yeah.
want anyone to get the wrong idea.
Yeah. We have roughly 30-second finality. So I guess it shouldn't take
Hmm.
more than a minute, theoretically, at least in most cases. Like, said, it kind of depends on the route ultimately. But I guess that's a decision we're going to have to make together about, which blockchain to actually pair up with, that will get us the best security, or best balance of security, transaction fees, um, speed, or time, and therefore kind of balance
Hmm.
that all out for the Reef ecosystem. Okay, we're about half an hour in, so I want to check. I want to switch over to community submitted questions. A lot have been posted in YouTube. We'll try to get to those, but we do want to focus on the good ones. They came in. Oh, that's an interesting button. um, and make sure that some of these get answered. So I will put up. I'll put up this one. Actually, no, I'm not going to put up this one. I will put up the second one. So Omari from Georgia asked about the main mechanisms of Proto CCTP, how those are going to help the Reef ecosystem to develop in terms of liquidity and stablecoin, in this case USDC integration. I think we've already touched on a lot of that. Obviously, if you can bring native wrapped, bridged USDC over to Reef Chain, you can do all sorts of things there. Some of those would need to be enabled specifically across the Reef ecosystem and anybody building apps in the Reef ecosystem. But USDC, once it comes over, you should be able to build stablecoin pools or half stablecoin pools on ReefSwap right away. So that's huge. Obviously, if we know it's coming and roughly when, then we can work on getting payments on Squid available with USDC. But stable coins is really a prerequisite for any serious DeFi ecosystem to exist. For better or worse, we still live in a world where 98% of people still think in dollar or fiat currency terms. And so it's much easier for me as well. It's much easier to think in terms of dollars than it is in terms of Satoshis or
Gwei.
whatever,
Yeah.
or Gwei or whatever. I'm 40. I'm not changing certain things about myself at this age. So that's one of them. I think in terms of dollars. I can go back and forth between euros and USD and Canadian dollars and Singaporean dollars. That's all fine. I have an app that helps me do all that, but that's cool. But to start thinking in terms of 0.000014 blah blah blah, how much that impacts me on a daily basis, there's too much volatility ultimately for me to handle that.
It's a lot of zeros
So,
too.
having said that,
That's a lot of zeros.
yeah, it's a lot of zeros. Where Restream changed some things recently. Captions. Yeah, here we go. Uh, boom. Oh, show. Here we go. So, what does this change for developers when who are creating apps, mobile wallets, web applications? Cletus, do you have any insight in terms of what you've seen with other ecosystems? Like once they get USDC or other stable coins available, what kind of opportunities do you see typically open up for
Well,
them?
really what it enables is a full uh, back ecosystem where you can rely on the stablecoin now on your chain, and what that opens up really is any sort of advanced DeFi features, borrowing and lending, basing things off of the US dollar, for example. So if a chain's if a chain's USDC is depegged, like Harmony, for example, or right after the multi-chain fiasco, like with Phantom temporarily, they had a depeg event. Uh,
Right.
all of the DeFi, it doesn't work as intended because there's no ground truth value to base it on, and that's really important for a lot of these dApps that are building on chains. If you're doing any sort of borrowing and lending, if you're doing any sort of swaps that are based on a certain amount, if there's a dApp that is taking a fee in USDC or it's swapping it for that USDC, and now you have a depeg event, now the entire payment rails of that ecosystem are no longer in place. Sure, you can base it off of the native
Right.
token, or like the native gas coin on that chain, which I'm sure is what a lot of people have done previously before the mass proliferation of stablecoins. But at that point, then you're relying strictly on that ecosystem token, and then basing it still off of the USDC price or the USD price somewhere else. So it really is
Right.
that prerequisite for that advanced DeFi to flourish on a chain.
So I guess in that case, what does VIA Labs do in order to help make sure, or does VIA Labs do anything to help make sure that we've got the right value? Are you plugging into we've got Witnet as an oracle that supports Reef Chain? Obviously, there are lots of others, Supra, Chainlink, Entangle, etc., that offer various types of
Mhm.
oracles. Or do you guys just say this is USDC, it's 0.999 something or a dollar or a dollar 0.0001 depending on a variety of situations, and maybe it's pegged back to the network it came from, and so we're kind of relying on them for that
Yeah,
value,
yeah.
or
So
what?
because of how the bridge standard and Proto CCTP work, we don't need any oracles in this case because it is always backed one to one, no matter what. So if people bring in, let's
Right.
say, like $1 million into Reef, there will always be $1 million in that liquidity pool where it's always backed. If someone tries to come back with like 500,000, for example, back on the other side, it will always be there. Likewise, if someone has, if 10 is brought in and then someone tries to bring back 11, that's impossible. There will never be more than what is brought in, so that it is always pegged 1-to-1. And that's kind of the beauty behind using the bridge standard, is you don't need to have these external oracles. But to answer your question though, VIA Labs does do that oracle relaying. So if any of your dApps on your chain did want to have price feeds from other chains, maybe Chainlink provides something, or if there's other oracles that you'd want to have access to and have that be rebroadcast on chain onto Reef, VIA Labs could provide that. And you could, as a dApp, you could theoretically add additional security to that, to add in your own project node, so that you would also have that additional pillar and security that you could control those messages going into and out of your specific ecosystem.
Cool. I'm just gonna say, Fazad, I'm not trying to call you out specifically, but you're posting the same thing over and over again on X. I see the questions. Please give us a few minutes to answer the questions that already came in. And I'll either hit you up on X after, or if we have time, I will get back to you before we wrap this up. Okay. There was a question from Yuri. This one's really for me. In the process of replacing burning the ERC20 and BEP20 representations of Reef, the total circulation of Reef 20, the 17 billion plus those, will it remain unchanged? Honestly, that remains to be seen. I'm waiting for Denko and other multi-sig signers to kind of sort all that out in terms of how much we can supply from the existing total supply and circulating supply versus how much we have to mint in order to facilitate all these moves from Ethereum and BNB Smart Chain over to Reef Chain. So we're figuring that out. That's not a question for Cletus. It's something he'll have to be concerned about at some point, because obviously we have to supply the liquidity in order to facilitate the bridging. But yeah, I'm in discussions with Denko about that and getting that sorted out so that we have a clear understanding of how much is available existing versus how much has to be minted. And once we have clarity on that, we will make that public and we'll make really clear how much is being minted. It, for the most part, is either going to go into the bridge or potentially swapped directly with some centralized exchanges who already support the Reef network. But my focus is on the bridge, facilitating this so that people can move those tokens over in a I guess somewhat decentralized, but in a self-custodial format. That's the word I'm
For
looking for.
the token bridge itself, Derek,
All right.
maybe for some of the users who might not know about how that functions, do you think that we should get into, like, on Ethereum and BSC, how that would work with Reef? So maybe if someone hasn't. Okay.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. Yeah, I think this will. No,
Okay.
it won't
All right.
answer the next question, but it's definitely something we've got still about 20 minutes. So yeah, let's go for it.
Cool. Okay. Yeah. So, and this was communicated in that past announcement, but I feel like it might give some extra context to that question that was it Yuri or Jason or whoever just asked.
Yeah, I think so. That
Okay.
was, yes, that
Yeah.
was
So
Yuri. Yeah.
on the Ethereum and the Binance side, it is going to be a burn bridge that burns that Reef on that, and then brings it to the Reef mainnet ecosystem. And on the Reef side, you'd be able to put in your wallet address for you connect your wallet on Ethereum or Binance, and then you'd either submit your Reef address just by copy and pasting it, or by connecting your Reef wallet, depending on whatever option that you prefer. And then once you hit go, that Reef on Ethereum or Binance is then burned, or it's then sent to a contract, and then True Reef on the Reef mainnet is then released. So you can then now effectively you're bridging your Reef from Ethereum and Binance to Reef mainnet, and that Reef that's on Ethereum or
Yeah.
Binance is burned. So it's a burn release bridge.
Yeah, and we do have this graphic that I thought was quite clever. I think some folks were still um, a little confused by it, but I'm just gonna make another new scene here. And no, not that one. Replace with this one. So when we announced this back in September, we had already discussed at least some of the details. And so, as you were saying, Cletus, you'll have an interface, bridge.reef.io, something along those lines, and you'll be able to connect your Ethereum wallet or BNB Smart Chain wallet. Like, do you have an accounting right now of like which wallets or maybe wallet connection standards? Whoops, sorry, you guys support on or are
Yeah,
going to
and
have
I
support
need to
for?
completely confirm this with my development team, but because I don't want to say anything incorrect, but I think it's Wallet Connect, where you just go on Wallet Connect and click MetaMask and connect your wallet, and it just works. And on the Reef side, there's and this is getting into like the technical with like EVM and the Reef addresses and stuff. But if you copy and paste your Reef address, or if you connect your wallet and then just hit connect on the Reef side, that would then show the proper destination as to where the Reef tokens will be arriving. And the reason why we need to have two is
Yeah,
because on the Reef side, the EVM is not the same as your EVM address as on Ethereum or Binance, for example. So we want to make sure that there's no
right. Yeah,
mismatch in addresses because that could cause problems. So we solve that for the user by either having input or directly connect. And I submitted
yeah.
a picture, and I don't know if you can pull it up right now, but I sent this to our group chat. So this is a
Oh, okay.
preliminary UI screenshot of the Reef Bridge that we could probably show as some alpha if you can pull that up.
Yeah, one sec. Share an image from my computer. Downloads. Hey, there you go.
There it is.
So I guess the nice thing about Reef is you don't actually need to you don't need to bind an EVM address on Reef in order to send and receive Reef tokens, or Reef coins, whatever you want to call them. So maybe we need to talk, but with your developers, but you should be able to just put in your Reef native address, starts with a 5P, 5C, whatever. That should work. But yes, if you have claimed your EVM address on Reef Chain, custom one, or just automatic, then that's great, and that would work too. I did do something like this um, when I tried Secret Network for the first time a couple of years ago, and I was able to buy a bunch of secret tokens, SCRT, on Ethereum, and bridge them over to back to the Secret Network. And it was like this: I had to connect MetaMask, say yes, I want to bridge Secret. Obviously, I needed ETH for fees, and then on with Kepler, connect on the other side, and yes, here's my Secret Network address, completely different format, no EVM address bound or related to this. So yeah, so this is not unheard of in the industry. I understand, from a variety of perspectives, it might not be the best or the preferred option. But when you're dealing with two networks that have different underlying tech, this is more or less the way it has to be.
Awesome.
Sensei, bridge ready? Yes, no, no, in development. But as Cletus said, we've got a small preview here of what that interface is going to look like. Cool. All right. Moving on to. Oh, I already brought it in here. Chanpa. How does Reef plan to integrate its cross-chain decentralized exchange with other blockchain ecosystems beyond the major? So we don't have a cross-chain decentralized exchange. I think Chanpa's read some old information about the Reef DeFi operating system that was originally the goal back in 2020. We don't actually do that anymore. Maybe we'll make ReefSwap cross chain eventually, but that's not the focus right now. So we're gonna move on from that one. And I think I brought the next one in too. This one, Cletus, we've actually been talking about internally recently. How can we use the bridge with the phone? I mean, without the Reef app, will we need a laptop to use the bridge? I think the answer is you don't need a laptop, but why don't you
Yeah,
kind of
yeah.
expand
So
on
we
that?
have enabled mobile to work with both the Reef Bridge and with Proto CCTP. So that shouldn't be an issue. You won't need to pull out your laptop if you're on the fly somewhere. You can just go ahead and go to the Reef Bridging URL page once that's live, and use your phone to be able to then send your funds from any Ethereum BSC to Reef, or once Proto CCTP is live to bridge that USDC onto Reef and so on.
Yeah. So like on mobile, MetaMask used to have a built-in browser. As far as I know, it still
Mhm.
does. I don't use it anymore. Rainbow has one. Coinbase has one. Trust Wallet, I think, has a built-in browser. So if you've got your Reef on Ethereum or BNB Smart Chain and you're using just about any mobile wallet that has a browser built in, you should be able to, and it supports Wallet Connect. You should be able to go to the Reef bridging app, connect your Ethereum or BNB Smart Chain wallet, paste in, as Cletus said, your Reef wallet address, the native one or the EVM address bound to it, and hit bridge. And hopefully, within a few minutes, you'll have your Reef on Reef chain. And as Cletus said, the Reef on Ethereum or BNB Smart Chain will go into a smart contract, which we intend to burn all of as soon as possible. They've made it, the VIA Labs team has made it clear, like, we'll be able to take them out if we want to. No intention of doing that. And I'm saying that out loud because I don't want anybody to go look at the smart contract, look at the code, and realize, oh, they have other options here they never told us about. Yes, we're aware we have other options. VIA Labs has chosen to go that route. That's fine. They're the ones building the tech. But ultimately, 100% the intention is to burn them all on Ethereum and BNB Smart Chain and get everybody over to Reef Chain. Okay, we've got two other questions here, which will probably take us to time. So just give me a sec here.
I really love
Um,
how the chat is really flowing here. I'm seeing it on our Restream app and stuff, but I don't know if this is cycling in from YouTube, or is this from everywhere, or
it's yeah, it's
cool.
pretty much from everywhere. I'm seeing you get little icons here. So there's YouTube chat. I know there are comments coming in from X. So probably as replies to the X post where this is
Mm,
being live streamed. Facebook as well. I haven't seen a Facebook comment in a while, but it's being live streamed on our Facebook as well. And then on Reef AQ's a Twitch account because I can't be arsed to make my own. It's also being live streamed on Kick. We just
oh,
made a
great.
Kick account, so hopefully we get some views there. And we'll probably do some other ones. Restream can live stream to D Live and then some other more really regionally focused ones. So we haven't done a lot of that, like some ones that are more popular in Korea and places like that, where I'm not going to pretend we have a presence and broadcasting in English makes a ton of sense.
Mm.
So anyway, Goo wants to know collaborations and partnerships are some of the most important cornerstones to help improve adoption. Can you tell us about your current partners, plans for partnerships, and what everybody stands to gain from these partnerships? So I guess maybe taking a little bit of a different tack there. Can you talk about what other networks VIA Labs is connected to, and therefore potentially Reef could potentially benefit from being connected
Absolutely,
to as
yeah,
well?
and we can start with just the VIA Labs VIA network itself. That is on 111 blockchains once Reef is fully integrated on mainnet. So this gives Reef and all the developers, dApps building on in the Reef ecosystem access to 110 other chains that they can now connect to, be able to integrate with any sort of cross chain dApps. So this is like tokens, meme coins if they want to. Someone could theoretically create a meme coin launcher to launch meme coins on Reef, but then also pull an audience from Arbitrum or pull an audience from Ethereum or some other obscure chain to be able to really harness that unified liquidity. Or to move on to Proto CCTP, that network, Proto CCTP, is connected to all of the EVM CCTP chains from Circle. So see if I can name them all off the top of my head here. Is Ethereum, Polygon, Arbitrum, Base, Optimism, and Avalanche. So that's 6 EVM chains for USDC, but also it's going to be additional chains that once those get onto the Proto CCTP network, additional chains are going to be able to now utilize this USDC unified network to be able to send both USDC and of course bridged USDC back and forth amongst each other.
Yeah, good stuff. I know, like, going back to the USDC discussion real quick, I've wanted to pay the team on Reef Chain for a long time. We'd like to pay divers on Reef Chain. We'd like, there are all there's all these things we'd like to do, obviously on our own chain that we're already doing on chain, but because we didn't have a stablecoin of any kind, it makes no sense. So this, honestly, even internally, this unlocks a whole bunch of really cool stuff for us. You know, we can send divers USDC on Reef. If they need to bridge it somewhere else and sell it because, pardon me, they need fiat for their day-to-day lives, that's fine. Or if they want to bridge it to crypto.com and use the crypto.com Visa debit card, or Cypher's new debit card, MasterCard, great, that's fine. You know, your money, you go do with it what you want. But you know, there's all sorts of stuff like that we just haven't been able to do, and therefore, obviously, we haven't put the time and the money into it because, you know, well, what for? So yeah, at the end of the day, this does open up a bunch of just normal day-to-day stuff, and then obviously the more fun meme coin, DeFi, you know, lending protocols, stuff like that has been unavailable up until now. You know, a lending protocol, I think it makes a lot more sense, or it makes a lot of sense to deposit some USDC, take out a loan in Reef, and then, you know, be a liquidity provider, or, you know, I don't know, go play around in a perps dex or whatever. I don't care. Again, your money, you do what you want. But you know, when you only have one main coin and then a bunch of other meme coins who, you know, maybe you're not comfortable borrowing for whatever reason, it makes it a lot harder to do that. And so, you know, obviously we want to bring in lending protocols, perps, RWA, you know, real world asset protocols, etc. We can't do that. We don't have a significant amount of liquidity in another token, especially a stable coin. So, you know, when people are asking, like, what's the benefit? Honestly, so much. Like, just about everything opens up when you have a serious, well-known stable coin that's backed, you know, with cash and cash equivalents to the degree that USDC is with Circle. So honestly, I'm really excited. You know, this is mostly leads to growth in 2025, obviously, because we're only a month away from the end of the year. But this sets us up for an amazing 2025. So anyway,
Exciting.
I digress. Yeah, it is very exciting, and I've mentioned a couple of a bunch of other things that this opens up, and then ultimately being connected to a bridge with a bunch of other chains makes it possible for us to make deals with other projects and get them to actually bring over a portion of their token supply through VIA Labs, through the bridge. So, you know, Motodex, we're working with them. They have not launched a token yet. If they do, now it's possible for them to, now it makes sense for them to deploy a portion of their token supply on Reef Chain, whereas it didn't before, because it could only live on Reef Chain and there's nowhere else to go. And obviously, if for whatever reason we can't get a centralized exchange to support that on Reef Chain, they're stuck, and we feel stupid and they'll feel stupid, and nobody wins in that situation. So yeah, just being connected to a bridge of any kind makes collaborations much, much, much easier in general. All right, last, when bridge will works. Bridge will work when ready.
That's great answer.
That's
Yes.
Cletus and I are very much aligned on we'll provide a date when we're comfortable providing a date because we know it's going to be ready. Even, we shared a big update on our blog, blog.reef.io. Actually, maybe I'll head there real quick and just kind of go over that. We'll end up going a little bit over time, but not too much. Okay, I'll go back here, but I'm going to go back and here. So, Cletus, that we scrubbed a little bit because there were hopeful dates in Cletus's updates. Obviously, we took those out because we don't want to shoot ourselves in the foot. But actually,
Yeah.
Cletus, why don't you go over
I
this? You're
would
the one who provided the update and the screenshot.
I
I feel
would
like it's
call
best
those
coming from you.
dates internal timelines for internal timelines amongst our
Yeah.
teams. However, there does need to be
Yeah.
time to have a proper marketing, a proper announcement timeline as well. Because sure, the tech can't be done by a certain date, which is what we are on track with that internal date still, which is great. However, with that, the team does need to go through, like, as in when I say the team, I mean the VIA Labs team and the Reef team need to both go through an internal QA of that infrastructure to
Yeah.
make sure that the Reef team is happy with it, and you yourselves, the community, is going to be happy with it as well. If let's say that someone clicks a drop down and it switches to, like, I don't know, some other random network, which it wouldn't, but just to give an example, that would something like that would be interpreted in QA, and then to make sure that both of the teams are aligned on what is being put out to the public. So a lot of DeFi teams, I would say, don't do this, but when you're collaborating together with another team, and especially in the engineering world, you want to put things through an extra set of eyes so that both teams are in full alignment before something is announced to the public. So we're going to go through that process,
Yeah.
and once the Reef team and the VIA Labs team is in full alignment, then that's when that official announcement date will be released, and yeah, then you as the community will be able to bridge your Reef tokens. Same way with Proto CCTP.
Yeah.
Does cool.
Exactly. Sorry, I need to drink some
Yeah.
water. Anyway, so I didn't realize I didn't have it up before. I do have the blog post we just posted, which was mostly Cletus's words, reworded a little bit, cleaned up for public consumption. And then, we threw some of the screenshots you guys shared with us recently in here. So yeah, why don't you go just kind of go through current status as of this writing, and then we'll get to that last question and wrap up here.
Very good.
Okay.
But was that a question for me, or? Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, if you could just
I'm
like
so
run us
sorry.
quick.
I was
Yes,
looking
please.
elsewhere
If you could
for
run
a
us
quick
quickly
second.
through.
Go ahead.
No, that's okay. Yeah, if like I posted this update, I was going to go through it, but I thought it would be better if you kind
Oh
of
yeah,
walk
for
us through
sure,
it a
for
little
sure.
bit.
Okay, yeah. So this is the update that we sent for the timeline purposes as to where everything's at currently, right? Okay, cool, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So as of right now, the VIA Labs infrastructure, so the VIA network, is successfully connected to Reef on testnet, meaning that transactions, cross-chain messages are and can successfully be sent between any EVM chain and Reef mainnet. So and that's going both ways. That's going from Reef to Ethereum Sepolia, and then Ethereum Sepolia to Reef testnet. And those messages are flowing back and forth. That connection has been established, which is great. That was the hardest really main thing to establish, because now once it's working on testnet, it's so much easier to now just upgrade to mainnet, because if testnet and mainnet are the same thing, which for all chains they are, you can flip a switch and now it becomes live on mainnet. So we're in that staging period right
Yeah.
now, and the contracts, and just to give another update, which we actually haven't provided to your team yet, Derek, but the bridging contracts have been created, and we're actively testing those internally right now for everything Reef related for that Reef token. So that's all on track. That's looking good. If you could scroll down a little bit in this announcement here too, I just want to make sure I didn't forget anything in here. So the token bridge, we covered the UI earlier, so we actually showed a little bit of that, which is great. We talked about the burn and retrieve command, which is just all that does to provide a little bit more context on that. We could make it so that it just burns automatically. Like we could do that. The intention there was so that if there was any sort of marketing promotions or any of that Reef as a like Reef's marketing team wanted to do, they could then take tokens out of there and then give those out for promotions or something. Instead of having to, like, if there was any sort of mint features, instead of having to worry about arbitrage with going to a centralized exchange and then bringing tokens back on Ethereum, it just kind of simplifies that process for whatever marketing promotions or any of that. So we wanted to leave that door open for the Reef team to be able to do whatever they wanted with that. It is their choice to do what they want to do. So that's why we wanted to give that additional functionality.
Yeah. Yeah, and I understand why, and that's why I'm saying, like, I don't want anybody going to this to the I'm telling people, we're telling people publicly, openly, this function does exist. We know it's there. We don't intend to use it. I intend to use the burn command heavily. We have no intention of using the retrieve command. I don't want anybody being surprised that it's there. So we've mentioned it here on the AMA. It's in the blog post. I didn't edit that retroactively. That was in since this got posted. And we'll probably put in the documentation as well, just so like all of our bases are covered. But we've shared publicly that command does exist. We don't intend to use it. We intend to use the burn command whenever gas fees are low, basically. And then you should see, so while there might be some temporary increases in the total supply, as potentially tokens are minted and things like that, the supply API and therefore CoinGecko and CoinMarketCap and other sources like that should show you, it should come back down to a number you would expect as the tokens are put into the smart contract and we hit the burn button, basically.
Cool.
And now I'm realizing remember that the Staples easy button, you could like hit the button, it would make it, I want a button like that's connected, that burns the tokens, but I'm probably not going to get that.
Oh, geez. All right. Yeah. I mean, that would be so funny on a dApp if there is an easy button, and then you have some speaker connected, you hit bridge. That was easy. Yeah. It was.
Now I could probably with like Claude or ChatGPT or something, I could probably code it to make it work, but and if I have the time, maybe I'll do it. And we're like, we'll have like a little video live stream where just boom, hit the easy button and just there goes all the tokens into the dead contract on Ethereum or BNB Smart Chain. But again, we'll see whether we have time.
Mr. Daps, he's mentioning Mr. Krabs, which special shout out to all the SpongeBob enjoyers out there. With this kind of
yeah.
Right.
Yes, they are very heavily themed about around the SpongeBob SquarePants universe.
Yeah, I'm ready.
Yeah, they're actually building the Reef name service. We have an announcement to make with them next week, so I'll leave that little leak of alpha out there, but we're going to collaborate more closely. And and the last part of the update here was about Proto CCTP.
Okay. Yep. And Yeah, the effort that it would take for Proto CCTP, we weren't completely sure of that effort just because of the non EVM technicalities of Reef. But after we did some investigating, it was easier than what we were. It was easier than our worst case scenario. So it's about it's the technical abilities of our team and of integrating it with Reef is going to be actually easier than it was for just the to get the initial network connected. So we're again on track with that. It's looking good, and it actually is going to require less effort than what we initially anticipated. So yeah, I'm optimistic and very happy about where we're at with Proto CCTP in terms of our timelines.
Good stuff. So am I. Okay, I think that's it for that, which I think answers a lot of questions. And then we have our final question that came in. I already made it as a caption, so I can throw it up here. This is all for me. What are your 2025 targets for the Reef project? So, as always, I'm not talking about the price of the token. That's not up to me. That's up to supply and demand. Like any volatile asset, token, coin, whatever you want to call it. What I will say is we're on track to finish the majority of our 2024 roadmap before the end of December. One or two things are going to get missed. Potentially launching the bridge might not happen this calendar year. We're well on track. Things are going well. But as Cletus said, we have to make sure this is airtight, that it works the way we expect it to. And ultimately, that we have some time to market the fact that it's going to open. We have to make sure we have the liquidity there, whatever the source is, et cetera, et cetera. So we have operational and marketing stuff to handle even after all the testing. The Hydra starter might not launch this year. Our dev team is still pretty bogged down with a million things to do. But otherwise, we've actually made some really good progress on 2024's roadmap, especially in comparison to 2023 roadmap. So the 2025 roadmap will have things like redesigning the mobile app from a user experience perspective, tighter integration with Mr. Dapps's Reef name service, bringing a lending protocol over, major enhancements to Squid. We've tried to make that happen this year. There is work happening right now. I've made that really clear in my weekly updates. But at least the one big feature it's being built right now, it's not quite ready yet. It'll probably be ready before the end of the year, which will be nice. And we have some really, really cool collaborations happening in the background that I think Cassie's going to announce really soon so that people know it's coming. But just with the holidays coming up for a vast majority of the world, whether you're Jewish or Christian or even Hindu or Buddhist, like everybody seems to have a holiday at some point in December or January. Things really kick off in North America now after the American Thanksgiving. So it makes it hard to market something really cool at this time of year. We'll make announcements, of course, when we're ready, but when it's things like doing an artist collaboration on Squid or something like that, we might sandbag that until the new year just to make sure we get maximum attention on it. We've had a part-time business development person working in the background to collect names and stats on a bunch of projects that we could approach about coming over to Reef. Realistically, not, let's say in the lending area, not Aave. I love Aave. I've met Stani. I've interviewed Stani. They're a great team, but they have certain criteria that you need to meet, and we don't meet that, and that's okay. We need a lending protocol. It doesn't need to be, Aave or Compound, for example. Anyway, obviously, we'd like to work with other stablecoins, bring them over at least in wrapped formats, if not official forms as well. And ultimately, just start working our way through a variety of categories of applications and bringing one or two each over to Reef Chain. Could be official partnerships where maybe it's a grant and we help them market it, etc., like we're doing with VIA Labs, like we're doing with MotoDex, or we just offer a really cool environment. I am in discussion with somebody right now about finally improving our developer documentation. It's somebody who used to work with Reef, and I don't think they got the chance to really shine because they got pulled in a million different directions. And so I want to give them an opportunity to actually focus on one thing and give them a chance to do that. And so a lot of the learnings that we've had in discussions with VIA Labs, with the MotoDex team, with hiring Abdullah and Loué recently, it's often the same questions over and over again. It's not that the information is not there, it's that it's just kind of obscured, or it's in GitHub repos and there's no clear link to those and stuff like that. And so I want to take a lot of that work off of Mathias's plate in terms of answering basic questions over and over again. Just put it out there, so that like people on Cletus's team, they go to a page and they're like, ding, 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 ding. I have everything I need. Good stuff. Okay, good. And if they have questions, it's edge cases, or local ID, local dev environment stuff that they forgot to do. They skipped the step, or for some reason still isn't documented, but it's like specific to them. Fine, no issues. I want to cover 90% of cases so that building on Reef is just kind of pick up and go, which we understand it's not right now. That's a big part of it. Honestly, a big part of it is just making it much easier to get into Reef Chain and then going. I think Coinbase does a really good job of app discovery in Coinbase Wallet. That's a good model to go off of. Zerion's UX is really nice. So is Rainbow's. And so we have a lot of work to do there to make it easier. One thing I will say is that I think usernames should be the default, not the exception. So usernames as in like an ENS domain or an RNS domain. I think that should be the default. And I think that will really make things much, much easier. And so you can probably kind of guess where our relationship with RNS is going to go there with Mr. Daps. And we will make an announcement about that next week to make that clearer. But you're going to start to see, bits and pieces here of like, how is Derek, Cassie, Mathias, how is the team going to make it easy to get tokens into the Reef ecosystem and start having some fun and start earning some money and start doing whatever. And we have internal work to do on that front. VIA Labs, this relationship will help us a big deal, a great deal. And so we'll a relationship with a fiat on-ramp, with Mr. Daps, with gaming guilds, with VCs to really bootstrap this ecosystem and get it to a place that makes sense and where everybody can have some fun and it's easy for them to have some fun. Those are my targets for 2025. Cool. All right, Cletus, I kept you way longer than I wanted to. Do you have any parting words you'd like to impart on us?
I do have a compliment to the Reef team. I really like those like weekly, bi-weekly updates that your marketing team puts out on Twitter. I haven't seen any other project do it to that extent. And so, as not as a project leader, but as someone who's just a community member, I'm sure a lot of your community members share that same sentiment as what I do. Is that I love to see those updates, and that's actually something that like I'm seeing that going, okay, well, how can my team better encapsulate that and potentially use something like that in the future? It works very well for blockchains, and so I do want to give you your flowers when that's due. Your marketing department's doing a great job on keeping the rest of the community updated as to what is going on. So, like, props to that. For VIA Labs to be able to find more information about us, you just go to vialabs.io, our website. We are active on both Discord and on Telegram, more so on Discord. But if you do have questions on Telegram, you can also find us there. Trying to think of anything else here, but yeah, website, Discord, Telegram. we're pretty much always available. So any dApps that are in the Reef ecosystem that are interested about learning more about how in the future they can connect to cross-chain capabilities, they can source liquidity users, and any sort of cross-chain messaging from chain to chain, contact us. We're almost always available. We got team members around the world, so we can hit all time zones, and we have our Calendly that's readily available too. So you can just schedule a call with us. You can pretty much always get a hold of us. And if you want to talk to the team directly, again, Telegram or Discord, take out a ticket. We are there for you and ready to answer any questions that you have. But Derek, I really appreciate your time. Thank you for throwing this together and stuff. It was very informative AMA, and I hope that the community was able to take a lot of value from it. We talked about a lot of stuff today.
Yeah, I think so. We will, one way or another, we will get a transcript of this, and we will get some sort of AI realistically to summarize
Mm-hmm.
that, which is what I did last time. It worked great, actually, especially when it was like me solo just answering questions. I knew what I said, so I was like, "This is a great recap. It's awesome." But we'll get a full transcription. We'll get it resummarized, and that way, people who I'm seeing in the chat here, like, how do we get this in a different language? I could probably run this through some AI and get it translated, but I'm not sure I'm comfortable with that quite yet, and I don't know how it would work with two
Mm-hmm.
people. So realistically, I'll say we'll get a transcript, we'll get that summarized, and it'll be a lot easier for you to translate into your local language using DeepL, Google Translate, Naver, whatever you want, and understand more or less what was said today. Cool. Guys, I don't have any time to answer all these questions. If any of them are really important and have to do with this topic, drop them in Telegram, drop them in Discord. I will get them to them today or tomorrow. And in the meantime, thank you so much for watching. Have a great weekend. And I'll drop my weekly update probably tomorrow morning. And then we'll have an announcement with the Mr. Dapps team next week.